Newton's second law of motion. To understand this better, let us see an example and just examine this. When the person is hitting the ball with more force, then the ball moves farther and faster, or it is hit by the other player's bat with a responding force. It appears that the force acted on the ball by the bat seems to be changing the speed or velocity of the ball. So when the velocity changes, it produces acceleration. And in other words, the ball mass is same. The ball has a mass. Mass being the same and velocity changes, and the momentum of that particular ball. When velocity changes, then the momentum also changes. So we understand that in a way, the momentum is linked to the force. So there is a change in velocity and there is a change in momentum. And when there is a change in velocity, there is a change in acceleration. All this is being produced by the application of force used by the player on the ball. Now, with this as a backdrop, let us see what basically Newton's second law states and how do we define it and how we can measure the force using this doctrine. The rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of the force. So what it means? He says the force is directly proportional to the change in momentum. In fact, it is the rate of change in momentum. So, change in momentum by time taken. Let us say the momentum of the body changes from P1 to P2, then change in momentum is P2 minus P1 and time taken for this is T. It means the force is proportional to change in velocity by time taken because momentum is proportional to change in velocity. Not only that, momentum is also having mass as its component. So, force is basically proportional to the mass m because the momentum has force. So, momentum has mass. It means from these two, we figure out that force is proportional to change in velocity by time taken is nothing but A, acceleration. Hence, it's proportional to mass and acceleration. As we described in the picture, the force is proportional to acceleration and it is also proportional to mass. If the ball is heavier, it travels with a less acceleration or it requires more force to travel at the same velocity. Now, which is nothing but m into A. F is proportional to m into A, or if you want to make it equal, it is K into m into A. And where K is called Newton's constant, which is 1 in SI units. Therefore, force is equal to m into A. Now talking about the units of the force and describing a little bit more about the relation between acceleration and mass from this equation, we can say that force is equal to mass into acceleration. That means m into a. If F is equal to m into a, then a is equal to F by m. We can make out from this that a acceleration is directly proportional to force and acceleration is directly proportional to 1 by m. It means inversely proportional to m. What it means? If m is increased, a decreases, and if m is decreased, a increases. So we know that if you use a heavier ball to kick, its acceleration lowers, and if you use a lighter ball, lighter mass ball, then the acceleration increases. So acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the object. Now the SI units of the force F is represented as Newton or N, which is nothing but 1 kg meter per second square. Because this is mass is represented in kg, meter per second square is acceleration. Let us define Newton. A Newton is that force which, when acting on a body of mass 1 kg, produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in it. It is denoted by N. Hence 1 Newton is 1 kg meter per second square. We'll see in different systems how the force is represented. If you see, there are different systems, CGS, SI and British, and we use the SI system, and the force and mass and acceleration are represented or measured in this manner. In CGS system, force is dyne, and 1 dyne is gram centimeter per second square, and in SI Newton, so 1 Newton is kg meter per second square, and in British it's pound, 1 pound is slug feet per second square. Let us see some daily examples to understand the second law of motion. Take an example. Let's say catching a cricket ball. If you analyze when cricket match is played and when a fielder is catching the ball, then he bends backwards to catch a fast moving cricket ball. Why? Let us understand this phenomena by using second law of motion. The fast moving ball has large momentum. It means high velocity. So the ball is coming at a high speed towards the fielder. If it doesn't move backward, what will happen? He will get hurt. So to catch this ball, by catching a ball, what's happening? The ball is stopping its motion. So the momentum has to become 0. So if we need to make the momentum 0, we need to increase the time. To increase the time, the fielder moves backward. So when the fielder moves backward, he increases the time of catching the ball. So by increasing the time, since the momentum will come to 0. So when you increase the time, momentum reduces. So it reduces and stops. So by which the fielder will not get hurt. So therefore, the rate of change of momentum is decreased. When rate of change of momentum is decreased by increasing the time through the action of backward movement, the force also will reduce. The impact hence the impact on the hands of the fielder reduces. So by which he will not get hurt. So result of this is fielder avoids injury. As per second law, force is mass into acceleration. So acceleration is nothing but rate of change of momentum. When that decreases, the force will decrease. When that decreases, impact will be less. So in order to decrease the acceleration, what the fielder does? He moves backward, by which he increases the time. Let's see another example. Use of seat belts in the car. So when the car stops suddenly, what happens to the driver or a passenger? They fall forward. So when they fall forward, what happens? They get injured. So if the seat belt is there, how it can prevent? And how this second law of motion acts on this? Let's see that. When car stops suddenly, what happens to the momentum? The velocity becomes 0. So the momentum also becomes 0. So if seat belts are there and worn by the driver or passenger, it prevents or it takes time for the passengers to fall forward because the seat belt comes in the way. So when the time taken increases, what does it do? It decreases the rate of change of momentum. So this, in a way, decreases rate of change of momentum because the time is in the numerator. So when the rate of change of momentum reduces, this decreases the force acted on the passenger due to the sudden forward fall. So what is the result of this whole thing? Passenger escapes major injury. So let us go through this example once more. Use of seat belts in the car. So when the car stops suddenly, because the seat belts are worn by the passengers and the driver, so the time taken for passengers to fall forward increases. So when this increases, obviously the rate of change of momentum decreases because rate of change is inversely proportional to time. So when the time increases, rate of change of momentum decreases. So when rate of change of momentum decreases, that means the acceleration. So force acted on the passenger also decreases, mainly because force is equal to m into a. When a decreases, and force also decreases. So the impact will be lower. When the impact is lower, then the passenger escapes major injury. These are the practical examples to understand the second law of motion.